Good morning, good morning, good morning, all. Today we present the articles of impeachment. Donald J. Trump was impeached 2 times, with articles of impeachment subsequently introduced several times after that by a Representative Green. We will present to you the first set of the impeachment trial with Donald J. Trump. Here we are. Impeachment number 1.
Up the resolution. I now call up HRES 755, impeaching Donald John Trump, President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors. For purposes of markup, and move that the committee report the resolution favorably to the House. The clerk will report the resolution.
HRES 755, impeaching Donald John Trump, President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors, in the House of Representatives, December 10, 2019. Mr. Nadler submitted the following resolution, which was referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Resolution: impeaching Donald John Trump, President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors. Resolved that Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and that the following articles of impeachment be exhibited to the United States Senate. Articles of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives of the United States of America in the name of itself and of the people of the United States of America against Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, and maintenance and support of its impeachment against him for high crimes and misdemeanors. Article 1, abuse of power. The Constitution provides that the House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment, and that the President shall be removed from office of impeachment for the conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. In his conduct of the office of the President of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of the President of the United States, and to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care of the laws be faithfully executed, Donald J. Trump has abused the powers of the presidency in that, using the powers of the high office, President Trump solicited the interference of a foreign government, Ukraine, in the 2020 United States presidential election. He did so through a scheme or course of conduct that included soliciting the government of Ukraine to publicly announce investigations that would benefit his re-election, harm the election prospects of a political opponent, and influence the 2020 United States presidential election to his advantage. President Trump also sought to pressure the government of Ukraine to take these steps by conditioning official United States government acts of significant value of Ukraine on its public announcement of the investigations. President Trump engaged in this scheme or course of conduct for
Unanimous consent that
corrupt
the resolution be
purposes
considered as
in
read.
pursuit of
Given the
personal,
significance,
I object.
objection is heard.
of
Clerk will
personal,
continue.
personal political benefit. In doing so, President Trump used the powers of the presidency in a manner that compromised the national security of the United States and undermined the integrity of the United States democratic process. He thus ignored and injured the interests of the nation. President Trump engaged in the scheme or course of conduct through the following means. 1. President Trump, acting both directly and through his agents within and outside the United States government, corruptly solicited the government of Ukraine to publicly announce investigations into A, a political opponent, former Vice President Joseph R. Biden Jr., and B, a discredited theory promoted by Russia alleging that Ukraine, rather than Russia, interfered in the 2016 United States presidential election. 2, with the same corrupt motives, President Trump, acting both directly and through his agents within and outside the United States government, conditioned 2 official acts on the public announcements that he had requested: A, the release of $391 million of United States taxpayer funds that Congress had appropriated on a bipartisan basis for the purpose of providing vital military and security assistance to Ukraine to oppose Russian aggression, which President Trump had ordered suspended; and B, a head of state meeting at the White House, which President of Ukraine sought to demonstrate continued United States support for the government of Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression. 3, faced with the public revelation of his actions, President Trump ultimately released the military and security assistance to the government of Ukraine, but has persisted in openly and corruptly urging and soliciting Ukraine to undertake investigations for his personal political benefit. These actions were consistent with President Trump's previous invitations of foreign interference in United States elections. In all of this, President Trump abused the powers of the presidency by ignoring and injuring national security and other vital national interests to obtain an improper personal political benefit. He has also betrayed the nation by abusing his high office to enlist a foreign power and corrupting democratic elections. Wherefore, President Trump, by such conduct, has demonstrated that he will remain a threat to national security and the Constitution if allowed to remain in office. He has acted in a manner grossly incompatible with self-governance and the rule of law. President Trump thus warrants impeachment and trial, removal from office, and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. Article 2, obstruction of Congress. The Constitution provides that the House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment, and that the President shall be removed from office of impeachment on impeachment for the conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. In his conduct of the office of the President of the United States and in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of the President of the United States and to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care of the laws be faithfully executed, Donald J. Trump has directed the unprecedented, categorical, and indiscriminate defiance of subpoenas issued by the House of Representatives pursuant to its sole power of impeachment. President Trump has abused the powers of the presidency in a manner offensive to and subversive of the Constitution in that the House of Representatives has engaged in an impeachment inquiry focused on President Trump's corrupt solicitation of the government of Ukraine to interfere in the 2020 United States presidential election. As part of this impeachment inquiry, the committees undertaking the investigation served subpoenas seeking documents and testimony deemed vital to the inquiry from various executive branch agencies and offices and current and former officials. In response, without lawful cause or excuse, President Trump directed executive branch agencies, offices, and officials not to comply with those subpoenas. President Trump thus interposed the powers of the presidency against the lawful subpoenas of the House of Representatives and assumed to himself functions and judgments necessary to the exercise of the sole power of impeachment vested by the Constitution in the House of Representatives. President Trump abused the power of his high office through the following means. 1, directing the White House to defy a lawful subpoena by withholding the production of documents sought therein by the committee. 2, directing other executive branch agencies and offices to defy lawful subpoenas and withhold the production of documents and records from the committees, in response to which the Department of State, Office of Management and Budget, Department of Energy, and Department of Defense refused to produce a single document or record. 3, directing current and former executive branch officials not to cooperate with the committees, in response to which 9 administrative officials defied subpoenas for testimony, namely John Michael McMulvaney, Robert B. Blair, John A. Eisenberg, Michael Ellis, Preston Wells Griffith, Russell T. Vaught, Michael Duffy, Brian McCormick, and T. Ulrich Bruckbuhl. These actions were consistent with President Trump's previous efforts to undermine United States government investigations into foreign interference in the United States elections. Through these actions, President Trump sought to arrogate to himself the right to determine the propriety, scope, and nature of an impeachment inquiry into his own conduct, as well as the unilateral prerogative to deny any and all information to the House of Representatives in exercise of its sole power of impeachment. In the history of the Republic, no president has ever ordered the complete defiance of an impeachment inquiry or sought to obstruct and impede so comprehensively the ability of the House of Representatives to investigate high crimes and misdemeanors. This abuse of office served to cover up the president's own repeated misconduct and to seize the control of power of impeachment, and thus to nullify a vital constitutional safeguard vested solely in the House of Representatives. In all of this, President Trump has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as president and subversive of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of cause of law and justice, and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States. Wherefore, President Trump, by such conduct, has demonstrated that he will remain a threat to the Constitution if allowed to remain in office, and has acted in a manner grossly incompatible with self-governance and the rule of law. President Trump thus warrants impeachment, trial, removal from office, and disqualification to hold and enjoy the office of honor, trust, and profit under the United States.
Thank you. The gentleman will now state his point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, as I made the point of order on this minority hearing day, the chairman was furnished with the demand signed by all Republican members of the committee.
Now, those were the first articles of impeachment against Donald J. Trump. Those were the first articles. Why he was impeached and what they were explaining was this. Donald J. Trump placed a phone call to Zelensky. Yes, the current day Zelensky that we know as the president of Ukraine currently, right now. Donald J. Trump placed a phone call to the Ukraine president and explained to the president that if you find evidence or you find any kind of dirt on Joe Biden, we need that dirt on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, his son. This was a phone call, and this phone call is documented. People will tell you there's not a phone call. There is a phone call, documented, and it was released. He made this phone call to Zelensky and said, you need to find dirt on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. And if you do not, I will stop aid from going to your country. This is a phone call. On the phone call, this is what Donald Trump said to Zelensky. This led to the first articles of impeachment. This is the first time that Donald J. Trump was impeached, and it was because of this phone call that they started the inquiry. Now, this is the House presentation. I'm giving you the House presentation of that article when they present their case in the House, because the House has to present the articles of impeachment, and then they have to put it on trial in the Senate. Of course, as per usual, then the do-nothing senators decided that they weren't going to convict, and we are in the problem where we are now. The phone call between President Donald J. Trump and Zelensky, the current president of Ukraine. He called him and told him on a phone call that is documented, and told Zelensky that you need to find dirt on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. And if you do not, I will stop aid from coming to your country. No, Bob Better, Bobo Better. Don't do that. Don't sit there and lie. Don't sit there and say it didn't happen. This is a phone call that is documented. So stop it. Here is the House impeachment, the case being made by Adam Schiff, who made the case in the House.
I thank my colleague, Chairman Nadler. I thank him for the extraordinary job that he has done as Chairman of the Judiciary Committee and throughout these difficult proceedings. Madam Speaker, my colleagues, my fellow Americans, I rise to support the impeachment of President Donald J. Trump. When a man, unprincipled in private life, desperate in his fortune, bold in his temper, possessed of considerable talents, having the advantage of military habits, despotic in his ordinary demeanor, known to have scoffed in private at the principles of liberty, when such a man is seen to mount the hobby horse of popularity, to join in the cry of danger to liberty, to take every opportunity of embarrassing the government, the general government, and bringing it under suspicion, to flatter and fall in with all the nonsense of the zealots of the day, it may justly be suspected that his object is to throw things into confusion, that he may ride the storm and direct the whirlwind. These are the words of Alexander Hamilton, written in 1792. Could we find a more perfect description of the present danger emanating from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? The framers crafted a constitution that contemplated free and fair elections for the highest office in the land, but also afforded the Congress with the power to remove a president who abused the powers of his office for personal gain, who compromised the public trust by betraying our nation's security, or who sought to undermine our democratic system by seeking foreign intervention in the conduct of our elections.
This is the presentation of the articles of impeachment in the House. As I stated, Donald Trump was impeached specifically because he called Zelensky on the phone and told him to find dirt on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. And he said, you have to do this, otherwise I am going to withhold aid to your country that we deliver to you, I am going to withhold aid to you if you do not give me dirt on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. These are the first articles of impeachment that were presented against Donald J. Trump. The first in 2019.
I would say that the founders could have little imagined that a single president might have done all of these things, except that the evidence has sadly proved this is exactly what this president has done. Hamilton, among others, seems to have predicted the rise of Donald Trump with a staggering prescience. Having won freedom from a king, the drafters of our Constitution designed a government in which ambition was made to check ambition, in which no branch of government would predominate over another, and no man would be allowed to be above the law, including the president, especially the president, since with whom would the danger be greater than with the officer charged with being our commander-in-chief? Over the course of the last 3 months, we have found incontrovertible evidence that President Trump abused his power by pressuring the newly elected president of Ukraine to announce an investigation into President Trump's political rival, Joe Biden, with the hopes of defeating Mr. Biden in the 2020 presidential election and enhancing his own prospects for re-election. He didn't even need the investigation to be undertaken, just simply announced to the public. The smear of his opponent, would be enough. To effectuate this scheme, President Trump withheld 2 official acts of vital importance to a nation at war with our adversary, Vladimir Putin's Russia. The president withheld a White House meeting that Ukraine desperately sought to bolster its standing on the world stage. And even more perniciously, President Trump suspended hundreds of millions of dollars of military aid approved by this Congress to coerce Ukraine into doing his electoral dirty work. The President of the United States was willing to sacrifice our national security by withholding support for a critical strategic partner at war in order to improve his re-election prospects. But for the courage of someone willing to blow the whistle, he would have gotten away with it. Instead, he got caught. He tried to cheat, and he got caught. Now, this wasn't the first time. As a candidate in 2016, Donald Trump invited Russian interference in his presidential campaign, saying at a campaign rally, "Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing." A clear invitation to hack Hillary Clinton's emails. Just 5 hours later, Russian government hackers tried to do exactly that. What followed was an immense Russian hacking and dumping operation and a social media disinformation campaign designed to help elect Donald Trump. Not only did candidate Trump welcome that effort, but he made full use of it, building it into his campaign plan, his messaging strategy, and then he sought to cover it up. This Russian effort to interfere in our elections didn't deter Donald Trump. It empowered him. The day after Special Counsel Bob Mueller testified before Congress about Russia's sweeping and systemic effort to influence the outcome of our last election, the day after President Trump believed that the investigation into his first electoral misconduct had come to an end, the president was back on the phone urging yet another country, this time Ukraine, to help him cheat in another election. 3 consecutive days in July tell so much of the story. 3 consecutive days in July of 2019. July 24th, the day that Special Counsel Mueller testified before Congress, and President Trump thought he was finally in the clear. July 25th, the day that President Trump got on the phone with the Ukrainian president and in the context of a discussion about military support for that embattled nation that the president had recently frozen, said, "I would like you to do us a favor, though," and asked Ukraine to do 2 investigations to help his reelection efforts in 2020. That was July 25th. And then we come to July 26th, the day Gordon Sondland called President Trump on his cell phone from a restaurant in Ukraine. Gordon Sondland, not some anonymous never-Trumper, but $1 million donor to the president's inauguration and his hand-picked ambassador to the European Union. What does President Trump ask Sondland the day after this call? What does President Trump ask? What does the president want to know? Did he ask about Ukraine's efforts to battle corruption? Of course not. Did he ask how the war with Russia was going? Not a chance. On the phone, his voice loud enough for others to hear, President Trump asked Sondland, "So he's going to do the investigation?" And the answer was clear. Sondland assured Trump that the Ukrainian president was going to do it and that he would do anything you asked him to. If that wasn't telling enough, my colleagues, in a conversation that followed, an American diplomat dining with Sondland asked if it was true that President Trump didn't give a blank about Ukraine. Sondland agreed, saying the president cared only about big stuff. The diplomat noted that there was big stuff in Ukraine, like a war with Russia. And Sondland replied that the president cared only about big stuff that benefits him personally, like the Biden investigation that Mr. Giuliani was pushing. In that short conversation, we learned everything we need to know about the 45th president of the United States. He doesn't care about Ukraine or the impact on our national security caused by withholding military aid to that country fighting for its democratic life. All that matters to this president is what affects him personally, an investigation into his political rival and a chance to cheat in the next election.
Even back then, Donald J. Trump did not give a damn about the people of the United States. He only gave a damn about himself. As I stated, he is presenting the case for impeachment against Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump, on the phone call to Zelensky in 2019, told Zelensky that you need to find me dirt on Biden and Hunter Biden. Otherwise, I will stop aid to your country. This is what got Donald J. Trump impeached the first time. Adam Schiff is presenting the case.
As Professor Gerhardt testified before the Judiciary Committee 2 weeks ago, if what we're talking about is not impeachable, then nothing is impeachable. Even as this body uncovered the facts of this Ukraine scheme, even as we opened an impeachment inquiry, even as we gathered evidence, President Trump continued his efforts to seek foreign help in the next election. Well, I would think, he said from the White House lawn on October 3rd, that if they're being honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens. It's a very simple answer, he said. And he made it clear it's an open invitation to other nations as well, saying China should start an investigation into the Bidens too. President Trump sent his chief of staff to the White House podium and he told the world that, of course, they had linked aid to investigations and that we should just get over it. And even as these articles have made their way to this House floor, the president's personal attorney has continued pursuing these sham investigations on behalf of his client, the president. The president and his men plot on. The danger persists. The risk is real. Our democracy is at peril. But we are not without a remedy prescribed by the founders for just these circumstances: impeachment. The only question is, will we use it? Or have we fallen prey to another evil that the founders forewarned? The excess of factionalism, the elevation of party over country. Many of my colleagues appeared to have made their choice to protect the president, to enable him to be above the law, to empower this president to cheat again, as long as it is in the service of their party and their power. They've made their choice, despite this president and the White House stonewalling every subpoena, every request for witnesses and testimony from this co-equal branch of government. They have made their choice, knowing that to allow this president to obstruct Congress will empower him and any other president that follows to be as corrupt, as negligent, or as abusive of the power of the presidency as they choose. They have made their choice, and I believe they will rue the day that they did. When Donald J. Trump was sworn in on January 20th, 2017, he repeated these words: "I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States." Has he lived up to that sacred obligation? Has he honored his oath of office? Has he preserved, protected, and defended the Constitution of the United States? The uncontested evidence provides the simple yet tragic answer: he has not. In America, no one is above the law. Donald J. Trump sacrificed our national security in an effort to cheat in the next election. And for that, and his continued efforts to seek foreign interference in our elections, he must be impeached. I reserve the balance of my time.
Here is the Here is the vote. The vote for the articles of impeachment. So, we had obstruction from the Republicans even back then to impeach this.
Accounts of the House of Representatives. 2, sending for persons and papers and filing with the Secretary of the Senate on the part of the House of Representatives.
This is reading of the articles, the vote on the articles, and the sending of the articles to the Senate.
Any pleadings in conjunction with or subsequent to the exhibition of the articles of impeachment that the managers consider necessary.
This is the first articles of impeachment that occurred when Donald J. Trump called Zelensky, the current president Zelensky, called him up and demanded that he get dirt on Hunter Biden and he get dirt on President Biden. He said, "You need to get dirt on President Biden and Hunter Biden. Otherwise, I will cut off your aid to Ukraine." He said that plainly and clearly on the line, on the phone call, when there were people listening. This is what got him impeached the first time. You cannot do that. So, this is impeachment number 1. This is the vote.
Pursuant to House Resolution 767, the resolution is debatable for 10 minutes, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on the Judiciary. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Nadler, and the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Collins, each will control 5 minutes. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York.
Madam Speaker, I now yield myself 2 minutes.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Madam Speaker, the resolution before us today appoints managers to prosecute the Senate impeachment trial of President Trump. This trial is necessary because President Trump gravely abused the power of his office when he strong-armed a foreign government to announce investigations into his domestic political rival. He betrayed our country when he used the powers of his office, including withholding vital U.S. military assistance, to pressure that government to help him win re-election. He invited foreign interference into our elections. Again, he jeopardized our national security. He did all this for his personal political gain. And then he violated the Constitution by stonewalling Congress's efforts to investigate, ordering an absolute blockade of evidence. Despite that, the House was able to uncover powerful evidence that demonstrates beyond doubt the president's betrayal and violations of the Constitution. But we still have not heard the whole truth because the president has refused to allow a single document to be turned over to the House in response to our impeachment subpoenas. And he has prevented us from hearing key witnesses as well. This is unprecedented. Our Speaker has led our fight for a fair trial in the Senate. Above all, a fair trial must include additional documents and all relevant witnesses. The American people have common sense. They know that any trial that does not allow witnesses is not a trial. It is a cover-up. The Speaker's insistence on this point has gotten results. Just yesterday, we received critical new evidence from the president's former associate, Lev Parnas, that further proves Mr. Trump's scheme to pressure Ukraine to go after his personal political opponents. New witness testimony has become available as well, including John Bolton's announcement that he would honor a Senate subpoena. Under today's resolution, the managers also have broad authority to submit to the Senate any additional evidence the House may acquire on its own, and we will do so. The Senate is on trial. We will see whether they conduct a fair trial and allow the witnesses or conduct a cover-up. Today's resolution is the next step in this serious and solemn constitutional process. I urge my colleagues to vote yes on the resolution.
Gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This impeachment process has been flawed from the outset. It resembles not a congressional action, it resembles more a Dr. Seuss book, knowing not which way it goes. On September 24th, the Speaker declared at a press conference the House was conducting an impeachment inquiry. However, to the contrary, to the Speaker's decree that we were all of a sudden in impeachment inquiry, the House did not authorize the impeachment inquiry until October 31st by adopting H.R. 660. It is just said just a moment ago that the Speaker has been leading the fight for a fair trial in the Senate. I wish the Speaker had been leading for a fair hearing in the House instead of trashing our rules. For those 71 out of 78 days from the time it was announced at a press conference to the time we finished, the president was not permitted to participate in these meetings. Think about that, 71 days out of 78 in which we actually did something on impeachment. He was not presented the ability to cross-examine fact witnesses, present counter-arguments, no due process at all in those 71 days. When presented with the opportunity when it came to the Judiciary Committee, instead of the Judiciary Committee stepping up and actually acting like the Judiciary Committee of the Committee of Impeachment, we punted. We had some law professors who already had their basic talking points. He could have cross-examined them. That would have done a lot of good. Then we could have had witnesses of staffers who testified. Again, a lot of good. Where were the fact witnesses? Instead of the rubber stamp that we were warned about 20 years ago by the current chairman, we became the rubber stamp. Democrats repeatedly violated House rules and blatantly abused the rules. They even wrote in H. 660, even to this day, we will pass this out in violation of H. 660. They used inflammatory rhetoric, haunting them because this is what they had to do. One Democrat said, I call for impeachment today because it's one heck of an emergency. Another said, we have a crime in progress. We have an emergency that our national election is going on right now. But my favorite in December, it's a crime spree in progress. Oh, the hyperbole just reeks in this room. When we understand this, if it was such an emergency, if there was in lieu to finding a 911 call, then why did we hold this for almost a month? Well, we've been told that it's to help a Senate fair trial. Be damned, the House inappropriate process we had. But even though the process was bad, I'm going to go back and make sure the facts are, let's make sure the facts are here because they still haven't changed. A phone call that was put out in a transcript in which no pressure was applied. There was no conditionality on anything given in that call or sense to do that. There was also nothing given by the Ukrainians to actually get this money that was released. By the way, before it was actually statutory deadline of September 31st, they did nothing. They got the money anyway. But the problem is they want the Senate to do their job for them. But that's not how it works. You see the Speaker, and what I've heard today, even from folks giving 1 minute, Madam Speaker, is that this is all they wanted. It was a political impeachment. They have said he is impeached for life. This shows the true motivation, I believe, of the other side. It is their dislike for this president and the good work he is doing. So, Madam Speaker, before I reserve here for a moment, this has always been a political impeachment. Even today on the floor, the talk of the president being forever impeached and it's always being sustained forgets the Senate trial. I hope this ends, this political impeachment, and this body never sees it again. I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from New York.
I now yield 1 minute to the distinguished chairman of the Intelligence Committee, gentleman from California, Mr. Schiff.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, I rise.
Okay. So
The
these
hearts
are the
Or even
wait a minute. These are the presentations. Wait a minute, this is McCarthy. We heard
Gentleman from Georgia.
thank you, Madam Speaker. At this time,
we have heard Adam Schiff.
Reason.
So now we hear
Speaker, back when this national nightmare began, Speaker Pelosi.
now we're hearing from the Republicans make excuses for this president. Make excuses for the phone call that he made. It's never with the Republicans. It's never about actually what he did. It's never about actually what this president did. It's always about why someone is doing it. They're just presenting these cases because they don't like the president. They're just presenting the case because X, Y, and Z. It's never, the Republicans never address. They never address what the president does. They only address what you do. That's why the Republicans cannot govern. That's why they're unable to govern. Because it was obvious all of these articles they presented 3 articles of impeachment. 3. And these Republicans never allowed those things to fall into the House. It was a no from the beginning. Never listening to the evidence. The evidence was clear. The phone call was clear. You called up a foreign government. You threatened a foreign government with withholding funds if you did not find evidence on Joe Biden, like a thug, like a mafia boss, like the degenerate that Donald Trump is. He called up Zelensky and threatened Zelensky. This was on a phone call. This is fact. But the Republicans, ever since he got into office, have been covering for this corrupt president, the corrupt things he did. This is not the only thing he did. He did several things. As we are seeing right now, he did several things back then when he was president before. We made the case that he would do the same things when he was president before, and people still, because they didn't know, they didn't understand, people in the chat, what phone call? When did he do X, Y, and Z? When did he do? Because you don't know what he did. You're defending a person that you don't know what he did. Okay? The fact is, he was corrupt back then. And he did the things that he did back then, and they were against the law. If you weren't paying attention, then you didn't know. I am presenting the articles of impeachment that they presented to him. These are the Republican responses. They're covering for him back then, just like they're covering for him right now.
She laid bare her intentions and purely partisan agenda. She told her caucus that they needed to strike while the iron is hot. This was always an exercise in raw partisan politics. Contrary to the warnings of our founders, and over the last month, we saw the justification for running the fastest, thinnest, and weakest impeachment in American history crumble.
Now, you have to make sure we understand. Understand that they cannot dispute, the Republicans cannot dispute what he has done. They cannot say he did not do what he did. They are just making excuses by attacking the Democrats. Instead of attacking what he did, they attacked the Democrats. Like most MAGA people do, they can't address the argument. You can't address the fact that your president is corrupt. So they cannot dispute that. So they have to attack everyone around them instead of dealing with their corrupt fascist president.
Instead of sending the articles of impeachment to the Senate for trial, Speaker Pelosi held them hostage in a failed play to gain leverage that she did not and would never have. In terms of concessions, she got nothing. No control, no moral victories. In other words, another failed strategy.
You can't dispute the phone call. I'm sorry, mercenary. Your president was trash then, president trash now. You can't dispute any phone calls. You can't dispute any corruption. This is history. You can't dispute it.
After a month of counterproductive and harmful delays, I have 3 questions for my friends on the other side of the aisle, the Democrats. What happened to impeachment being urgent? What happened to Congress being on the clock? What happened to saying the House would be derelict in our duty if we did not act immediately? These were all the assertions Democrats made over the past several months. I guess it turns out none of them are true. These delay tactics were self-serving, hypocritical.
Why is he talking about delayed tactics? Why is he talking about anything being delayed? Delayed what? Address his impeachment charges. Don't address the Democrats, address the impeachment charges. The Republicans couldn't address the impeachment charges because they had nothing to counteract these impeachment.
Critical and discrediting. But they made an important admission. Some might even call it a concession. You proved a very big point. Democrats do not even believe their case was robust enough to win in a trial. Even the Speaker's allies admit the delays undermined their case. Some has gone as far as describing it as a failed strategy. These are those who are closest to her. Senator Feinstein, the senior Democrat from our state of California and the hometown senator of the Speaker, said, the longer it goes on, the less urgent it becomes. And Chairman Adam Smith, the confidant of the Speaker, said it was time to transmit the articles to the Senate. Before these statements were made last week, before the Speaker relented, they are significant because they were public and they were honest. I'm disappointed these individuals did not have the courage to stand by their initial comments. If impeachment was truly as urgent as Democrats claimed,
why are we discussing about whether it's important or not? You see the distraction. It's always a distraction. It's never about what the issue is. The president made a phone call to Zelensky saying, you need to get dirt on Hunter Biden, otherwise I'm not giving you financial aid. That's an impeachable offense.
the majority should not have waited for the Speaker to choose a political convenient time. Anyone could have recognized this ploy would not work. The House and the Senate are different institutions, and at this point in time, controlled by different parties. As James Madison wrote in the Federalist Papers, the purpose of bicameralism is to guard against the dangers of encroachment and to stop toxic resolutions from taking effect. We saw separation of powers prevail against an abuse of power, just as the Constitution intends. The idea of withholding a sloppy impeachment case to force the Senate to change its rules is constitutionally and politically unheard of. Frankly, it's just ridiculous. In Article 1, Section 5, the Constitution clearly states, each House may determine the roles of its proceedings. It doesn't say the House may determine the roles of proceedings in the Senate. If anything, the Speaker's actions have only further persuaded members of the Senate that the evidence of impeachment was neither thorough nor satisfactory. But you know what? Let's be honest. This was never about persuasion. It was never about the rule of law. It was what Alexander Hamilton warned us, that one party would get control. And just because of the animosity would demean the process of impeachment. And by selecting these particular batch of managers, the Speaker has further proven she's not interested in winning the minds, the hearts, or even following the Constitution. Let's take a look at the first three names Speaker Pelosi announced in her anticipated announcement earlier today. Chairman Schiff, a man who has already taken on the role of judge, jury, and fact witness throughout the entire House impeachment process. Chairman Nadler, someone who campaigned for the chairmanship of the Judiciary Committee that's responsible for impeachment beginning as far back as December 2017, before you were even in the majority, on the notion that he would be the best person to lead the charge on potential impeachment against the president. You see, you get a chairmanship by your conference voting for you. You campaign for it. You put your best ideas out there of why you should be the chairman. In 2017, that was the campaign. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, a member who almost 2 years to this date voted in support of impeachment. You know, that was more than a year before the Ukraine call even took place. Those are just some of the managers. If you think about the members, there's people who were, on the day they were sworn in to this body, told those who supported him the greatest that they were going to impeach him. As I've said in the past, there's an issue with fairness. But instead of looking to the Senate, Speaker Pelosi should be looking within her own caucus. From the beginning, this investigation was marred by selective leaks to the media, a completely predetermined process. Yes, we've been through impeachment before, but it was much different. We believed in the rule of law back then, that we would face our accuser, that you could cross-examine, that the minority could actually ask for witnesses. The day that impeachment was asked to come forward, I sent a letter to the Speaker, laying out 10 items, none that were made up. You know what they were? The fair process we've always used in the past. The answer was no. Because they've been working on this for 2.5 years, they could not let fairness determine the outcome. Any other prosecutor would be disbarred for such blatant bias, especially if that prosecutor was a fact witness in the case. The reason for this impeachment is the same reason it's taken Democrats 30 days to send the articles to the Senate. Just spite. They wanted to stain the president's record without giving him a fair chance to clear his name. Last year, we saw House Democrats invert the burden of proof during their fair investigation. For every American watching, take, for instance, if this was your government, if you switched the burden of proof on you. We have a congressman, Max Rose, characterized it this way, this new freshman of the majority. The president says he's innocent, so all we're saying is prove it. God forbid government accuses you of something as an average American to say you have to prove it. We just switched a fundamental belief as an American. But only in this house do we do that. This guilty and proven innocent mentality was an admission that impeachment was not about upholding justice, or protecting the rule of law. Now Democrats have invented an even more destructive standard. You're guilty because they say so. Our founders feared this day. Alexander Hamilton warned us of this day. I had hoped this day would not come. I would hope those who uphold the Constitution would believe in the rule of law instead of the spite of the dislike of an individual. Like the kangaroo courts on college campuses, or an accusation is enough for a conviction. Even as early as just last Sunday in an interview, Speaker Pelosi made that point very clear to all of us. Asked what a Senate acquittal would mean, she said it didn't matter. The president is impeached forever. Is that what this is all about? Just a personality. Just an abuse of power that you have within a house that we all feared this country would never do. You could almost see on the speaker's smile as she spoke about this new standard, how incredibly solemn she was. Madam Speaker, when Americans look back on this sad saga, they will see a rigged process that forever damaged the remedy of impeachment.
That was the first impeachment presented articles in the House. That was the first impeachment. Donald J. Trump has had 2 impeachments, a historic event. Even he has made history. Even this president has made history with his shitty behavior. There was a first trial of impeachment. The second presentation of Donald Trump in the House yet again. He was impeached. This is his second time. These are the articles presented for Donald J. Trump in the House.
How in the world does the president mount a defense in 48 hours? What the bedrock of our judicial system is a fair trial, is innocent until proven guilty. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Why are we throwing that out?
We hear you, Congressman, and I just have one more question. We are looking at the House in session. There's a reading going on. I have one more question for you, and that is
Trump. Domestic terror is an insurrection. Capitol police officers were beaten and sprayed with pepper spray. New damage to the Capitol.
I mean, before we do this, I think this is important. I think this is important for people to see. Okay? I think it's important for people to understand. Capitol. For people to understand why they impeached him the second time. Why they impeached him. Why they impeached him in the House the second time. Because of the insurrection. People try to say that it wasn't an insurrection, but it was. Okay? New video. Everybody had video. Everybody had video. Okay? Everybody had video of this insurrection. There was no disputing this insurrection. And people tried to say it didn't happen. We didn't do that. It wasn't X, Y, and Z. Yes, it was. It was an insurrection. And we and everyone else sat back and we watched it. See, I don't like when people try to gaslight other. This is when people try to gaslight you. They try to tell us that it wasn't they tried to tell us that it wasn't an insurrection. Okay? We sat there in horror. All of us, the nation, the world, sat there in horror when we saw this.
Storming of the Capitol was launched. The time, 12:53. The first Trump supporters reach the barricades set up in front of the Capitol, demanding to be let through. A handful of cops make a brave stand, trying to hold the line, but the angry mob overwhelms them. Hundreds follow, swarming the grounds. Capitol Police are powerless. 1:15, flag-waving Trump loyalists fill the steps and balconies. They even scale the walls.
I can see at least half a dozen protesters scaling, literally climbing the walls of the Capitol.
The thugs smash windows, using fists and a shield. This guy used a metal barrier on a door. 1:33, they're in. TV anchors watching it unfold live are stunned.
It is an absolutely shameful, disgusting situation that we are witnessing.
Everybody stay down! Inside the chamber, members of Congress take cover.
We were just told that there has been tear gas in the rotunda, and we're being instructed to each of us get gas masks.
These are what the escape hoods look like. They're kept under every chair in the event of a chemical attack. Police blockade the door as the mob stalks the corridors.
The government did this to us. We were normal, good, law-abiding citizens, and you guys did this to us.
Today, the ease and speed by which the mob took over our cradle of democracy is sparking outrage. Some officers did their best. A lone cop is chased up the stairs, outnumbered, on his radio, calling for backup. They chase him up another flight and another, until reinforcements finally arrive. What happens next? Instead of placing them under arrest, it's a negotiation.
What's the point of stopping us at this point?
These cops are under fire for appearing to open barriers to let the protesters through. Another cop took a selfie. MSNBC anchor Joe Scarborough couldn't believe what he was seeing.
Yes, it was a negotiation, because if I'm the only person there, or it's only a couple of us there, and it's a full-on crowd that is running towards me, of course, I'm going to try to negotiate. I'm going to try to make sure you don't overrun us. I'm going to try to make sure that we don't die. Of course, we're going to negotiate. This was the speech before that riot.
Do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what they've done and what they're doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede.
And here's the thing, and this is the one thing I could have said that would make me think, no, he didn't do what he said he did. Here's the thing. Donald Trump knows that he's lying. Donald Trump knows that he lied. Because in testimony, on full testimonial record, in the court of law, the people that helped Donald J. Trump stir up this fake elector or fake election results, they have all testified. They have all testified that the president knew he lost. The president knew he lost. And yet and still, he stirred up the people to do the things that they did. He knew that he lost. He has been in private saying that he lost. In private accepting the fact that he has lost. But yet we have goofies who still believe that he thinks he won. He knows that he lost. He's lying to the American people, and he has been lying to the American people. But some of us know the truth. He knows the truth. Donald Trump knows that he lost in 2021. He stirred up that crowd. I'm not saying that he sent the crowd there. I'm saying, you know, you lied about the election. You know you lost the election, but you lied to your supporters like you didn't know, like you wanted them to stop stealing the election.
When there's theft involved, Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. And that's what this is all about. And to use a favorite term that all of you people really came up with, we will stop the steal. Today, I will lay out just some of the evidence proving that we won this election, and we won it by a landslide. This was not a close election.
And he knows that he lost. That's why we know he's a liar. This is how most of us know that he's a liar, because in private, he has admitted that he knows he's lost. Many times he knew he has lost. And yet you still have people out there who believe that he won. Oh no, my president won. He won. Y'all stole the election. Y'all got a bunch of fraud in y'all elections. Y'all got a bunch of people who died and then they get the vote. And illegal aliens get the vote. Your president lied because he knows in private. He told people in private he knew he lost. He lied. And he got you all lying for him. That's amazing.
You know, I say sometimes jokingly, but there's no joke about it. I've been in 2 elections. I won them both. And the second one, I won much bigger than the first, okay? Almost 75 million people voted for our campaign, the most of any incumbent president by far in the history of our country. 12 million more people than 4 years ago. And I was told by the real pollsters, we do have real pollsters, they know that we were going to do well and we were going to win. What I was told, if I went from 63 million, which we had 4 years ago, to 66 million, there was no chance of losing. Well, we didn't go to 66. We went to 75 million, and they say we lost. We didn't lose. And by the way, does anybody believe that Joe had 80 million votes? Does anybody believe that? He had 80 million computer votes. It's a disgrace. There's never been anything like that. You could take third world countries. Just take a look. Take third world countries. Their elections are more honest than what we've been going through in this country. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. You look at last night, they're all running around like chickens with their heads cut off with boxes, and nobody knows what the hell is going on. There's never been anything like this. We will not let them silence your voices. We're not going to let it happen. Not going to let it happen. Thank you.
USA! 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 USA!
For 4 years, we have witnessed turmoil in America, but nothing quite like this.
Yeah, this was the horror of that day. The horror of that day. And we all remember. We all remember. We remember that day, right? But they want to present it as though we don't understand. No, you didn't. He didn't present. He didn't do that. He didn't lie to the people. He didn't tell the people that he didn't win. He didn't do any of that. And we have it on camera, every little bit. Every little bit. So therefore, he got impeached for a second time. He was impeached a second time for just this.
We risk allowing January 6th to become our future. And what will that mean for America? Think about it. What will the January exception mean to future generations if you grant it? I'll show you.
Okay, that's his speech. That's his speech. That's the video. Okay. Storming the Capitol. Fighting the police. Fighting the Capitol Police. Storming the steps. This is what happened. So I don't want to play all of it, right?
Constitutional arguments.
Hold on. So we don't want to see all of that. This is the film.
That's what we fucking need to have 30,000.
Vigilant election.
And this is the president afterwards trying to stop them from doing what they were doing.
There's been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel, but go home and go home in peace.
So we ain't gonna forget that day. You're not gonna make us forget our lying eyes, right? You ain't never gonna let us. We'll never forget what we saw. Okay, that was the first impeachment. This was the second impeachment. I'm sorry. This was the second impeachment. Okay, and that's part of the issue right there. That's part of the issue right there that people don't seem to understand. This president committed these acts against the United States people. But this is what we have to deal with. This is the president that we have to deal with. On the cusp of a third impeachment. This is the second impeachment in the House because of January 6th.
The House will be in order. The chair lays before the House a communication from the Speaker.
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington, D.C., January 13th, 2021. I hereby appoint the Honorable Anthony G. Brown to act as Speaker pro tempore on this day. Signed, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
The prayer will be offered by Chaplain Kibben.
Would you pray with me?
We're showing a pattern here, Patrick. No, Jason. Wait a minute, who? We're showing a pattern here. We have a pattern of a lawless president. We continue to show the pattern of this lawless president. And that's why we have an issue with this president, because he was impeached twice. Not one time, he was impeached twice. Which meant he has been stepping all over the law since he has been president both times. Don't attack the Democrats. Y'all always do that. You have no defense for this president. It's always against the Democrats. It's never a defense. Try defending your president. Try defending your president instead of going against the Democrats. Try defending your president. Okay? That would be nice. If you could come up with a defense for the president, that would be nice. But you can't come up with a defense for the president because there's no defense available because he can't defend himself. There's no way to defend himself.
God, our judge, nothing is hidden from your sight. Thus, we stand before you to give account for our role in today's momentous decisions. In our deepest desire to carry out our responsibilities to govern, protect, and preserve this nation, while yet unsettled by the events of this past week, we find ourselves seizing the scales of justice from the jaws of mobocracy. Almighty God, wield your sword and penetrate the confusion and discontent of our country. Lay bare our attitudes of vengeance, that you would show us how to serve as instruments of your pure judgment and peace. Divide our rhetoric from the light of your truth. Judge our partisan thoughts and convict us to attend to the common good. We have taken our obligations freely, but we remain beholden to your guidance. Hold us then accountable to your powerful word. In the strength of your holy name we pray. Amen.
Pursuant to Section 5A1A of House Resolution 8, the Journal of the last day's proceedings is approved. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. McGovern.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the chair declares the House in recess for a period less than 15 minutes.
Okay. So we presented the articles of impeachment for this president. That was the first articles of impeachment. When we get the second articles of impeachment, here is second articles of impeachment. Let's try it right here.
The signal was unmistakable. These thugs should stage a coup so Donald Trump can hang on to power. The people's will be damned. This beacon of democracy became the site of a vicious attack. Rioters chanted, "Hang Mike Pence," as a noose and gallows were built a stone's throw from the Capitol steps. Capitol police officers were beaten and sprayed with pepper spray. Attackers hunted down lawmakers to hold them hostage or worse. Staff barricaded doors. People sent text messages to their families to tell them they loved them. They thought they were saying goodbye, Mr. Speaker. This was not a protest. This was an insurrection. This was a well-organized attack on our country that was incited by Donald Trump. Domestic terrorists broke into the United States Capitol that day, and it's a miracle more people didn't die. As my colleagues and I were being evacuated to safety, I never, ever will forget what I saw when I looked into the eyes of those attackers right in the Speaker's lobby there. I saw evil, Mr. Speaker. Our country came under attack, not from a foreign nation, but from within. These were not protesters. These were not patriots. These were traitors. These were domestic terrorists, Mr. Speaker. And they were acting under the orders of Donald Trump. Now, some of my colleagues on the other side have suggested that we just move on from this horror. But to gloss over it would be an abdication of our duty. Others on the Republican side have talked about unity. But we can't have unity without truth and without accountability. And I'm not about to be lectured by people who just voted to overturn the results of a free and fair election. America was attacked, and we must respond, even when the cause of this violence resides at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Each of us took an oath last week. It wasn't to a party, and it wasn't to a person. We vowed to defend the Constitution. The actions of Donald Trump have called each of us to fulfill that oath today. I pray that we rise to this responsibility because every moment Donald Trump is in the White House, our nation, our freedom is in danger.
He's speaking this in 2021. He's speaking this in 2020. Is it 2021, 2022? He's speaking this for the second trial of Donald J. Trump. Impeachment. There's a difference. The impeachment, the articles are presented in the House, and it's up to the Senate in order to convict in the Senate. He is presenting the articles of impeachment because Donald J. Trump incited a riot because he lost an election. He incited a riot against the United States citizens, against congressmen and senators. He incited a riot. This was why he was impeached the second time. And he will go down in history as being the only president who was impeached the second time, and he may be impeached a third time if the Democrats become the majority in the House again. They will impeach him again because he has done impeachable offenses. Let's continue.
He must be held to account for the attack on our Capitol that he organized and he incited. I solemnly urge my colleagues to support this rule and the underlying article. The damage this building sustained can be repaired, Mr. Speaker.
Hit the like, share, and subscribe button, please, and thank you. We have content like this every day. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Speaker. But if we don't hold Donald Trump accountable, the damage done to our nation could be irreversible. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Massachusetts reserved. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I begin my formal remarks, I want to ask for God's blessing and protection on you, for my friend, Mr. McGovern, for all who come to this chamber today to speak and to vote, for our wonderful staff that makes this possible, and most especially for the men and women of the Capitol Police and the other affiliated law enforcement agencies that are here to protect everybody and to make sure that this proceeding can go forward. With that, Mr. Speaker, I want to...
Why do you say dumb shit, mercenary one? Why do you say dumb shit? This is all historical. This is all historical. Are you dumb? I don't understand. Are you dumb? It's all on record. There's no misinformation. Don't present my channel like it's misinformation. This is all historical fact. Don't do that. We have mature content over here. Don't do that.
Thank the gentleman from Massachusetts, my very good friend, distinguished chairman of the Rules Committee, Mr. McGovern, for yielding me the customary 30 minutes, and I yield myself such time as I may consume. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, Mr. Speaker, today is a sad day for all of us. For me personally, for the Rules Committee, for the entire House of Representatives, and most certainly for the American people. For the second time in 13 months, we're meeting to discuss the impeachment of the President of the United States. Our meeting today does not arise in a vacuum and comes at what I hope and pray is the end of a tumultuous period for our country. Less than 1 week ago, Congress met to certify the results of the 2020 presidential election. What started out as peaceful protest turned into a riot as an untold number of individuals stormed the Capitol building. 6 people died as a result of this mob. And it's only by the grace of God and the brave acts of the U.S. Capitol Police, the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police, the FBI, the ATF, and other responding agencies that there was not more bloodshed. Violent acts such as these have no place in our republic. These shocking and sobering events rest high on our minds today, as well they should. Certainly January 6, 2021 will live in my memory as the darkest day during my time of service as a member of this House. After these grave events, we as a nation and as an institution have an opportunity to come together. President Trump has conceded the 2020 election. Congress has certified the results of the election. And next Wednesday, President-elect Biden will be sworn in as the President of the United States. Congress and the nation can move forward knowing that the political process was completed as designed and the constitutional framework that has governed our republic since 1789 held firm. But instead of moving forward as a unifying force, the majority in the House is choosing to divide us further. With only a week to go in his term, the majority is asking us to consider a resolution impeaching President Trump. And they do so knowing full well that even if the House passes this resolution, the Senate will not be able to begin considering these charges until after President Trump turned in.
Why do you all sit in the chat talking about the KKK? Democrats were founded in the 1820s. The KKK was founded in the 1860s. The Democrats did not find the KKK. They did not invent the KKK. Stop passing misinformation. The Democrats were founded in 1820s. The KKK was founded in 1860s. The Democrats were not a part of the KKK until the Civil Rights Movement. Why do y'all keep talking about the KKK? What difference does that make? Whether the Democrats were a part of the KKK. They didn't find the KKK. You need to read yourself. You need to figure out history yourself. Why do you talk about the KKK? The KKK doesn't belong with the Democratic Party now, does it? The KKK belongs with the Republican Party now. I don't understand why you think it's a flex to say the Democrats founded the KKK when the KKK supports the Republicans today. Stop it. KKK is a part of the Republicans today, not a part of the Democrats. Stop it.
Mr. Speaker, I can think of no action the House can take that's more likely to further divide the American people than the action we are contemplating today. Emotions are clearly running high, and political divisions have never been more apparent in my lifetime. We desperately need to seek a path forward, healing for the American people. So it's unfortunate that a path to support healing is not the path the majority's chosen today. Instead, the House is moving forward erratically with a truncated process that does not comport with the modern practice and that will give members no time to contemplate the serious course of action before us. In every modern impeachment inquiry, an investigation and committee action has preceded bringing an impeachment resolution to the floor. In part, this is to ensure that members have the full facts, the opportunity to engage expert witnesses, and have a chance to be heard. It also provides due process to the President of the United States. And again, in every modern impeachment inquiry, the President has been given an opportunity to be heard in some form or another. This is necessary.
The Democrats did not form the KKK. I don't understand why y'all don't get that. The Republicans, the KKK is a part of the Republicans today. The Republicans are KKK. The Republicans love the KKK. They're a part of the KKK. They're ingrained in the KKK. Republicans support KKK. Donald Trump feeds on the support of the KKK. The Democrats have nothing to do with KKK. That's not a flex. It means nothing. The Democrats did not form the KKK. Democrats were formed in 1820. KKK was formed in 1860. Stop it. The KKK did not make the Democrats. The KKK belongs with the Republican Party today.
In order to ensure that the American people have confidence in the procedures the House is following. It's also necessary, not because of the President's inappropriate and reckless words are deserving of defense, but because the presidency itself demands due process in the impeachment proceedings. Unfortunately, the majority's chosen to race to the floor with a new article of impeachment foregoing any investigation, any committee process, or any chance for members to fully contemplate this course of action before proceeding. Professor Jonathan Turley is correct when he called this a, quote, dangerous snap impeachment, an impeachment that effectively would go to a vote without the deliberation or inquiries of the traditional hearing. Professor Turley also noted that, quote, the damage caused by the rioters this week
formed in 1820s. No, you're a moron. You're a moron, Klingdale. You're a moron. Check again, zombie. Check again.
was enormous. However, it will pale in comparison to the damage from a new precedent of a snap impeachment, unquote. If the majority is seeking consensus, this is hardly the way to create it. The majority is failing to provide the House with an opportunity to review all the facts, which are still coming to light, to discuss all the evidence, to listen to scholars, to examine the witnesses, and to consider precedents. This is not the type of robust process we have followed for every modern impeachment, and the failure to do so does a great disservice to this institution and to this country. Mr. Speaker, I can think of nothing that will cause further division more than the path the majority is now taking. Rather than looking ahead to a new administration, the majority is again seeking to settle scores against the old one. Rather than seeking to heal America, they are seeking to divide us more deeply. And rather than following the appropriate processes the House has used in every modern impeachment, the majority is rushing to the floor, tripping all over themselves in their rush to impeach the president a second time. What's worse, though the majority seems to believe that this course of action is self-evident, and that's simply not the case. I have to tell them it's not. Members that have reviewed the same conduct and have come to dramatically different conclusions. Legal scholars like Professor Turley and Professor Alan Dershowitz, both of whom condemned the president's statements, believe that his statements are not impeachable. I know other scholars have different points of view. Given this difference of opinion, shouldn't we have a better process than this? Shouldn't we have a chance to examine witnesses, discuss the matter with legal scholars, and consider this in committee? On a matter as grave and
it reflects the sense of outrage, the sense of historic dissimilarity from the actions of any previous president. And then Mr. Adam Kinzinger, member to the NG Commerce Committee, a senior member from Illinois. So I have a member from Wyoming, a member from Illinois, and a member from New York. There will be others on this vote who will join them. And Mr. Kinzinger said this, if these actions, he hasn't had any hearings, he doesn't need any long drawn out consideration. If these actions are not worthy of impeachment, then what is an impeachable offense? There is no doubt in my mind that the President of the United States broke his oath and incited this insurrection.
That's why he was impeached the second time, for the incitement. Donald Trump knew that he lost the election. Even in court documents, people have known him to have lied about being impeached. He understands that he's impeached. He just lied to the American public. He lied to the American people, and then he incited, or he helped to instigate those people to storm the Capitol. So he has been impeachable. He has been a detriment to the United States since he became president. From the first presidency. These are 2-3 articles of impeachment from the first presidency. And then yet people forgot. 4 years went by, people forgot how terrible this person was. And then once he got into office, this next time, people immediately remembered, oh my God, this is that guy. Yes, this is that guy. This is that guy. Patrick, only, wait a minute, hold on. Walter White, only to zombies. Only zombies don't remember what this president did. Only zombies don't remember what this president did. Yes, she definitely is a dingbat, Klingsire. Yet your president is shitty, and he's gonna continue to be shitty. Don't beat up the messenger. Your president is shitty. Don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me. Y'all be mad at me. Yet your president is still shitty. Don't be mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger. Sorry.
I tell my friend, Mr. Speaker, a gentleman for whom I have great respect, he is my friend, and I say that honestly, not just as rhetoric, as we say on this floor, because there's some that I don't consider friends, whose values I do not share. That is not Mr. Cole. We have a difference. Liz Cheney, John Katko, Adam Kinzinger, and other Republicans whom I have talked to within the last 24 hours believe this action is required. Now, let me say, I see the gentleman from Ohio is on the floor. He likes to say that we Democrats were elected and the first thing we wanted to do was impeach this president. And he's shaking his head in agreement because, like the President of the United States, he denies the facts. Trump-like. Fake news. December 6, 2017. Mr. Green, whom I'm going to refer to, offered a motion because he saw the danger that confronted our country. And he filed a resolution of impeachment. And on December 6, 2017, we had a vote on that. And the majority of Democrats voted no. Actually, they voted yes to table, so that we did not proceed in 2017. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, thought, however, the next year that there was still a danger to our country. Some of us shared that view, but we were not confident that the case could be made or that the transactions that had proceeded would lead to conviction. So on January 19th of 2018, we had a motion to table Mr. Green's resolution. And the majority of Democrats voted to table that resolution. What a rush to judgment. And then on July 17th, 2019, 9 days before the call to Ukraine to get the Ukrainian leader to act on the political behalf of the President of the United States and withheld money to defend the Ukrainian people from Russian involvement and offered that as a bribe. And on July 17th, the majority of Democrats voted to table that resolution. So, Mr. Speaker, there was no rush to judgment. And then that call to which I just referred was on July 26th, 9 days later. I call that the aha moment. Yes, I knew what I thought, but that was proof. And the gentleman, some gentlemen have lamented that we didn't know the whistleblower, because after all, if we knew the whistleblower, we could intimidate everybody else from coming forward. And this president has done everything he can to intimidate whistleblowers, people who came forward and told the truth. And we had witness after witness after witness who confirmed what the whistleblower brought to our attention. So the reason I rise today, and I'm going to speak on the resolution itself at some later time, is to recognize the contributions that Al Green of Texas has made to getting us to this place. And I just want to, I'm not going to read all the resolution, but I want to read some excerpts from the resolution he has introduced. We won't be considering his resolution. We'll be considering Mr. Cicilline and over 200 others who have signed on to the resolution. Mr. Green had a resolution been introduced, resolved that Donald Trump, President of the United States, is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and the following articles of impeachment be exhibited in the Senate. Article 1 says, in his conduct with the President of the, in his conduct while President of the United States, unmindful of the high duties of his high office and dignity and proprieties thereof, and of the harmony and courtesies necessary for stability, to which my friend spoke, the gentleman from Oklahoma, John Trump, in violation of his constitutional and oath faithfully to execute the office of president, has harmed the society of the United States, brought shame and dishonor to the office of the President of the United States, sowing discord among the people of the United States by weaponizing hate for political gain. He went on to say on January 6, 2021, in a speech at the National Mall, President Donald Trump weaponized the hate and that resulted in violence, the deaths of multiple people, an assault on democracy, and an insurrection against the Capitol of the United States of America by inciting a mob. Who said that? Liz Cheney said it, and Al Green said it. Infected with white supremacists, carrying a rebel flag, erecting a gallows structure with a noose, wearing shirts and hateful messages, such as Camp Auschwitz, work brings freedom, and MAGA Civil War, January 6, 2021. MAGA Civil War. They had the hats on of the army of MAGA, which I refer to as Make America Grieve Again. We grieved at Fort Sumter. We grieved on December 7th, 1941, and we grieved on 9/11. And yes, we grieved on January 6th of this year. He goes on to say what the president told this mob that Liz Cheney said was recruited by the President of the United States. And I quote, this is the president talking to this mob. All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by a bold and radical left Democrats, like the Secretary of State in Georgia and the governor of Georgia, which is what they are doing, and stolen by the fake news media, inciting, riling up, creating anger with the fake news and lies that the President of the United States said to these folks. That is what they have done and what they are doing, the President continued. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. And so what did they do? Incited by this president, as Liz Cheney said, as John Katko said, as Adam Kinzinger said, and frankly, what Secretary Chao acted upon, and what the Secretary of Homeland Security acted upon, and what so many others in the administration have acted upon. Disgusted, dismayed, and disheartened by what their president had done. They got out. They quit. The president further emboldened them, saying, this is the green resolution. We're not considering it, but it is the green resolution. The president further emboldened them, saying, you will never take back our country with weakness. We had a display of non-weakness, criminal, insurrection-like conduct. recruited by and deployed by the President of the United States to come to this Capitol and stop the steal. The steal, of course, was we assembled accepting what all the courts that considered it said was a fair and accurate election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as President and Vice President of the United States. After his National Mall speech, a mob of his supporters proceeded to the Capitol complex. We know that. And so Mr. Green's resolution ends with, wherefore, to prevent national harm to our society, Donald John Trump, by such conduct, warrants immediate impeachment trial and removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States Constitution and the 14th Amendment. So in conclusion, Mr. Green is going to speak after me, but in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, let me tell my friend Mr. Cole, I've been here some time, he has as well. I've served with Ronald Reagan, with George H.W. Bush, and George Bush. I had respect for all of those presidents. They cared about our country, they honored our Constitution, and they executed the duties of their office consistent with the Constitution and laws of our country. That is not true of this president. And therefore, he ought to be removed. And we have that opportunity to do so. Is there little time left? Yes. But it is never too late to do the right thing. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Maryland yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Speaker, at this point, I'd like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Texas, my good friend, Mr. Green.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had tears to well in my eyes as I heard Mr. Hoyer, and I know that hearts are hurting. It's a very sad time in the history of our country. No one is celebrating. No one wants to see this occur. I was at the Rules Committee by way of Zoom. I was there for the entire hearing. Those members on the other side, this is something that they understand and they take seriously. Regardless as to what's said, I could sense that they're hurting too. So I just want to thank everyone for all that has happened and the appreciation that's been shown. And I want to say that the healing that we talk about, that has to begin. May I have just 30 seconds?
I yield the gentleman 30 seconds.
Gentleman has additional 30 seconds.
Thank you. The healing, it has to start with some of these people who were there initially, who helped to lay this foundation, 110 people. I want to recognize Maxine Waters, Congresswoman. A lot of them were threatened. Their lives were disrupted. And if I may, with unanimous consent, I'd just like to insert their names in the record.
Without objection.
I thank you, and may God bless our country as we go forward.
Gentleman from Texas yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my good friend, distinguished Republican member, our leader of the Budget Committee, Mr. Smith of Missouri.
Gentleman from Missouri is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we defeat the previous question, we will amend the rule to immediately bring up the bill establishing a bipartisan national commission on the domestic terror attack of the United States Capitol. This has been a devastating week for our nation. Just last week, we stood right here in this very chamber while a violent mob laid siege to the seat of American democracy. It is vital we get the facts on what went wrong last week, why the security apparatus failed, and how we can ensure it never happens again. Less than 50 feet from where we stand in this room, a young lady lost her life through those doors. Through those doors. I was in this chamber when those gunshots rang. That is real stuff. That should never happen in the people's house. For the first time, can the House Democrats and the Speaker of the House put the people before politics? Please put the people before politics. At a time when our nation is more divided than ever before, let's put people before politics. President Trump will be leaving in 7 days. Let's try to heal this nation. Let's listen to the American people. This is the people's house. Let's operate for the people. This country is hurting. The people are hurting. Our colleagues are hurting. This is a reckless impeachment. This will only bring up the hate and fire more than ever before. Have a conscience. Put the people before politics.
Gentleman's time's expired.
Unify
Gentleman from
this
Oklahoma
country.
is recognized. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserved. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, let me remind all of my colleagues that what happened on Wednesday would not have happened if it weren't for the occupant in the White House. And if we want to put the people first, we all ought to vote to impeach him and remove him from office as soon as possible. With that, I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Brownlee.
Gentlewoman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, today is a defining moment in our history. Congress was attacked by a mob directed by the President of the United States. It was a horrible, terrifying situation, but we all know deep in our hearts that it could have been much, much worse. We simply cannot let it stand. We cannot let it stand for the very soul of our democracy. We cannot let the President of the United States leave office without acting. We are the oldest constitutional republic in the world, and our Capitol is the sacred symbol of our great democracy. To my colleagues across the aisle, I appeal to your sense of service and duty to our nation and to the oath we all swore to uphold. Before we are Democrats and Republicans, we are Americans. Let us come together to fulfill our oath by voting for the resolution before us and by defending, preserving, and honoring our democracy. I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to one of our new members, distinguished gentlelady from South Carolina, Ms. Mace, and note that this is her first speech on the House floor.
Gentlewoman from South Carolina is recognized for 2 minutes.
So, those are the articles of impeachment that were presented against Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump currently has articles of impeachment presented against him today. So, we have articles of impeachment that are being presented against Donald J. Trump right now. Every time this person steps into office, he does illegal acts. So, let's listen to 2025 presentation of articles of impeachment.
Citizens impeachment is also in our coalition, 5051 DC. So many amazing grassroots organizations that have stood up to say we are not going to stand for this anymore. Free Speech for People has been a leader in this fight. From day one, they started an Impeach Trump Again petition that just a few months ago reached over 1 million signatures. I was honored to join Representative Al Green and Free Speech for People President John Bonifaz on that day here at the Triangle to deliver those signatures to the members of Congress. Please join me in welcoming Free Speech for People President John Bonifaz. Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. The framers were clear. The framers were clear. There would be no monarchs, no tyrants who would govern this nation, no kings in America. They set out to establish 3 co-equal branches of government. Article 1 for the United States Congress, Article 2 for the presidency, and Article 3 for the judiciary. 3 co-equal branches of government, no kings in America. But they set up an extra guardrail for that day when a president would so trample on the Constitution, so trample on the rule of law, that president would need to be impeached and removed from public office. Section 4 of Article 2, the impeachment clause. We have reached that moment today. Donald Trump has committed multiple abuses of power since assuming the oath of office.
See, that's the difference between us Republicans and us Democrats. That's the difference between Republicans and Democrats. We don't say there's no point in filing the articles of impeachment. Nothing's going to happen. We don't believe in letting our people or any people do what they want and not be accountable. That's the difference between Democrats and the Republicans. We believe in holding all people accountable. You all don't believe in holding your people accountable. You greenlight everything this president has done. He is a criminal. He is impeachable. And that's what we need to take into account. He needs to be held to a higher standard. And the problem is, you Republicans refuse to do so. This is why we have Donald Trump, because you Republicans refuse to hold your leader accountable. You never hold your people accountable because you don't stand for anything. You all please hit the like, share, and subscribe. We have content like this every day.
And as Jessica said at ImpeachTrumpAgain.org, we have been documenting in detail these abuses of power, 25 distinct grounds for impeaching and removing this lawless president, disappearing people from the streets and sending them to foreign torture prisons, an abuse of power, an impeachable offense, detaining and removing unlawfully U.S. residents without due process of law.
All that's impeachable. All of that is impeachable.
An abuse of power, an impeachable offense. Creating treason and levying treason against the people of the United States. Sending the military into our nation's cities against its people. An abuse of power, an impeachable offense. Attacking the United States Congress, usurping its authority to appropriate money. Congress, under Article 1, has the power to appropriate funds. This president goes ahead and freezes trillions of dollars of duly appropriated funds enacted by the United States Congress. An abuse of power, an impeachable offense. Defying multiple court orders issued by federal courts all across the country. Attacking the United States judiciary. An abuse of power, an impeachable offense. Pardoning 1,500 plus insurrectionists for an insurrection that he incited on January 6, 2021 to try to stop the peaceful transfer of power. An abuse of power, an impeachable offense. Engaging in rampant corruption in the White House, treating the Oval Office as a profit-making enterprise at the public expense, violating the domestic and foreign emoluments clauses of the United States Constitution. An abuse of power, an impeachable offense. Engaging in unlawful bombings of people in the Caribbean, in the Pacific, with no congressional authorization, extrajudicial killings, an abuse of power, an impeachable offense, engaging in misusing the Justice Department, the FBI, to go after his perceived enemies, the sham indictment of James Comey, the sham indictment of Letitia James, an abuse of power, an impeachable offense. The list goes on. The list goes on. And yet, I know there are people who will say, now is not the time to talk about impeachment. We've tried this before. This president was impeached twice. We need to move on. We have three responses to that claim. Number one, we either have a constitution or we don't. We either have an impeachment clause or we don't. If we're not going to invoke the impeachment power at this critical hour for our nation, then we might as well say we're giving up on the Constitution. We refuse to give up on the United States Constitution. Number two, when we do not name these actions for what they are, high crimes against the state, we normalize this conduct. We refuse to normalize these high crimes. And number three, members of Congress take the very same oath that Donald Trump took on January 20th, 2025, to protect and defend the United States Constitution. They have a duty, a sworn duty, to uphold their oath, to abide by that mandate, and to invoke the impeachment power. Now, there is a member of Congress here today, Congressman Al Green of Houston, Texas. Congressman Green has abided by that oath. He has followed the mandate of that oath, and he has introduced articles of impeachment, and he has already forced one floor vote on the House of Representatives where 78 of his colleagues joined him. We appreciate and applaud Congressman Green's courage and leadership, and we need more members of Congress to stand with him. We need more members of Congress to introduce articles of impeachment. I had a member of Congress say to me recently, John, what do you want? You want on Tuesday articles of impeachment introduced and a vote, and you want on Wednesday other articles of impeachment introduced and a vote, and then you want on Thursday other articles of impeachment introduced and a vote? And I said, yes, that's what we want. We can chew gum and walk at the same time. We need to have this debate on a daily level. There are more than enough articles to go around to be introduced, and this debate should be happening on a daily level in the House of Representatives. So we have a message for Donald Trump today. We are not afraid of you. We are not afraid of you. You are a lawless, wannabe dictator. You have committed high crimes against the state. We will hold you accountable. You must be impeached and removed from public office. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. John is a true leader, constitutional hero, I consider, in this country right now. And we have another group of heroes, regular citizens that have literally committed to maintaining a 24/7 presence just on the other side of this plaza. One of our core partners, FLAIR, which stands for Liberation and Resistance Everywhere. Their core commitment is to maintaining that presence until Donald J. Trump is impeached, convicted, and removed from office. I'm so grateful to work with them. They don't just show up on days like this when we have a huge press gaggle to cover what we're doing here. They show up every single week, leading American citizens into their halls of Congress to talk to their lawmakers and hold them to account, demanding impeachment and removal. Please join me in welcoming Dave Middick, the Congressional Ops Lead for FLAIR.
Lives in Fort Worth and North Texas, and I asked my colleagues to join me in honoring his extraordinary service, his enduring faith, and the powerful legacy that he leaves behind. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 3rd, 2025, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and still I rise, and still I rise. A proud, unbought, unbossed, liberated Democrat. And still I rise, censured, but not silenced. And it's important to have this photo tonight because it will get us into some very important issues. This was the occasion when I stood before the president as he stood behind me, giving a statement at a joint session of Congress. I was seated right over in the third row up. And the president started to talk about his mandate. I collected my portable items and I was about to make my way out to the aisle so that I could traverse my way out through the doors. That was my means of peacefully protesting. But as I moved and he talked about his mandate, something came over me. It was spontaneity. It was not contrived. I stood and I said to the president, "You don't have a mandate to cut Medicaid." That was what I said. Now, the press has distorted that, a good many of them, these opinion makers, opinion shapers. They want to define people and define what you say, notwithstanding your having said something contrary to what they'd like to hear. So they've said that I said he didn't have a mandate. I never said he didn't have a mandate. I said he didn't have a mandate to cut Medicaid, and I still stand by it. By the way, it became something that people across the country agreed with. So I said it, and then I left. And after I left, after having been told that I had to leave, because the speaker concluded that I was out of order. I have no hard feelings as it relates to the speaker. I have no animus related to his requiring me to be removed. Although I am the only person who's ever been removed from a joint session of Congress. But here's what happened after I left. The president, from this podium, the president looked over toward my Democratic colleagues. And the president said to them, as he was talking, words tantamount to them being lunatics. He said it. Members of the Congress of the United States of America at a joint session of Congress, and the president calls the Democrats lunatics. I wasn't here. I don't know what I would have done if had I been here and he called me a lunatic, because I never insulted him by saying something negative about his personhood. I didn't do that, but I was censured. The president was not censured for calling members lunatics at a joint session of Congress. He's not been reprimanded in any way. We have allowed him to normalize his behavior. I was censured.
We have allowed this president to normalize his illegal and degenerative and radical behavior. The Republicans have allowed the president to do degenerative and illegal behavior. Democrats are not in charge, so they can't allow him to do anything. It's the Republicans that have allowed this president to do illegal and degenerative things. Make sure you all hit the like button and the share button and the subscribe button. We're bringing this kind of content every day. We're just presenting the articles of impeachment against Donald J. Trump, the 3 sets of articles of impeachment.
I had to stand in the well. I accepted my punishment. I accepted it. I never criticized.
You make sure you do that, Jigsaw player. You make sure you do that, okay? You make sure you do just that. Seeing as how I'm playing history. You do just that, liar. Boy, y'all get in here and lie and say all kinds of shit.
The notion that it was improper for me to be removed, I did say that I didn't think that the punishment was appropriate in terms of being censured, but I never.
I hope you all do. I absolutely hope you do. I hope you do. That does get you kicked off YouTube, lying about content. You know that gets you kicked off YouTube, right?
Said anything that would cause the president to.
No, this ain't a Democrat or Republican thing. This is a morally correct person and a liar like Jigsaw player. That's the difference. I don't understand. I'm presenting fake evidence, but this is history. Don't lie on me, Jigsaw player. Don't lie on me. Lie on yourself, but don't lie on me.
Believe that I was disrespecting him as a human being. But he called Democrats lunatics. No penalties. Nothing done.
Shut your dumb ass up. We ain't talking about that. We talking about the fact that you said I'm presenting lying evidence. I'm not saying anything that's incorrect or lying. You're the fucking lunatic. Stop lying on me. Don't lie on me. That's one thing I'm not going to tolerate is somebody coming in my chat saying I'm lying when I'm presenting evidence. Shut your ass up.
We cannot allow the president to normalize demeaning people, calling them names, low IQ. We can't allow him to do this.
I don't care what
if we do, at some point, what I have in my hand now will occur. I have in my hand an article from Politico dated 11/20/2025. When we allow the president to say these things with
you report whatever you want to report. You just be willing to take the consequences of lying on the channel. Just be willing to take those consequences because we will see if you can get banned for lying yourself.
Impunity. This is what we face. 2025, 10:42 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is styled, Trump calls for Democratic lawmakers to face trial for seditious behavior. Well, I don't agree with that, but that's not the point. There's more to be said. It goes on to say, seditious behavior in bold print. This is in quotations. Seditious behavior, punishable by death. He wrote on Truth Social.
I think in some ways, most of them are compromised or corrupted. In most of them, you just have to go through their finances, where their campaign finances, and find out if they're compromised. I think this representative right here is probably the only one that hasn't taken money. Mr. Al Green, I think he's one of the only ones that hasn't really taken money to be influenced by people, influenced by companies. I think he's maybe one or two that has not taken any funding whatsoever.
The president is saying now that someone Democrats have engaged in seditious behavior punishable by death. Then he goes on, and the article reads, Donald Trump on Thursday called for 6 Democratic lawmakers to face arrest and trial after they made a video encouraging U.S. service members and members of the intelligence community to refrain from following orders if they broke the law. Well, what does that mean if they broke the law? Well, it means this. If the president gives you an unlawful order, you are not to follow that order. That's what it means. And by the way, that's what the law says. You don't follow unlawful orders. We don't want people following unlawful orders. I'm not going to name the people. But then it goes on to say, it's called seditious, this is the president now, it's called seditious behavior at the highest level. Trump charged in a post on Truth Social. Each of these traitors, now they have become traitors. Each of these traitors to our country should be arrested and put on trial. I don't agree with that, but that's not the most egregious thing in this document that I hold in my hand. I'll get to that as I read on. Their words cannot be allowed to stand, he says. And then he goes on to say, we won't have a country anymore. 3 exclamation points. An example must be set, he says. Now we're getting close to the reason I'm standing here tonight. If he had only said the other things, I probably would have done as many others are doing and just let it go. But sometimes you can cross a line of no return. The president crossed that line with these words. The president then posted 16 Truth Social posts, including one that advocated for hanging Democrats. Now that's the line. Mr. President, what is wrong with you? Don't you know that there are people who will read this and consider doing something dastardly?
Wow.
Don't you know that you are putting people in harm's way? And by the way, I don't think it just includes the 8 people that are named here. I don't think it just includes them. I think if you're a Democrat, any Democrat should be concerned about what this president has done.
Absolutely.
I just don't think that this applies to the 6 Democratic lawmakers that's mentioned here. 6.
Don't go lie on me. Don't go lie on me. That's the one thing you won't be doing, is going to lie on me. I will report you. I will report you. Okay? I will report you, Jigsaw and A Guy. I will report you. Don't go lie on me. This is history. This right here is history, documented history. There is no misinformation. This is the truth about your president. So don't go lie on me. MAGAs never want to hear the truth. They always want to hear somebody sing sweet nothings in their ear, like this parent, like this president, always lying in your ear, always conning you, always telling you lies. When someone presents you with the truth, you get upset. You get upset that you're hearing that people don't like your president. We can't help it. Your president is shitty. For some of us, your president is shitty. Don't be mad at me because your president is shitty to some of us. And other people don't like your president. Don't be mad at me. I'm presenting the representative that is filing articles of impeachment against your president. Don't go lying on me. That's the one thing I will not tolerate, is you lying on me, saying I'm presenting false evidence. This is history. This happened days ago, or whenever this happened. Hey, Tahilism. We got zombies in the chat yet again who don't know how to act in a chat. Goofy Kevin. Ain't nobody talking about no unborn babies. Stay on topic. Y'all zombies can't never stay on topic. We're talking about the impeachment articles that this man right here is about to present against your president. This man is about to present articles of impeachment against your president. So don't go saying I'm lying about anything. Nobody's lying about anything. Man, some of y'all need to grow up for real. I don't get it. You present news and they say it's a lie. That doesn't mean I'm lying. That just means you don't like what's being said. Grow up.
Not 8. I think
not everybody likes your shitty ass president. Grow up.
It applies to all of us. Just so that you will know, my friends, when you walk into my office now, the first thing you see is a person with a gun. When I first got elected to Congress, we didn't have police officers sitting out in the lobby. You walk in now, the first thing you see is a person with a gun. Why? Because of this kind of ignorant behavior on behalf of the president. And by the way, I'm being kind by saying ignorant.
Yet again, what I said was, please grow up. Please grow up. That's why I don't want to engage with this kind of conversation, because y'all don't know how to have grown adult conversations. She's so mad because Kamala didn't win. The black lady don't like the black lady crying. Grow the fuck up, zombies.
There are many other ways, many other adjectives. There's something wrong with the president. There's something wrong with the president of the United States of America. For the president of the United States of America to say that people should be, let me read it to you one more time. The president then responded, 16 Truth Social posts, including one that advocated for hanging Democrats. There's something wrong with the president. There's something wrong. We can't ignore this. We cannot allow him to say this with impunity. We can't. Now, I don't speak for anybody other than myself and everybody who agrees with me. And a lot of people agree with me that the president can't be allowed to do this. That's why I say censured but not silenced. I have not been silenced. I will not be silenced. I am not going to be one that is going to allow this to take place and not speak up and speak out and say to the world that this has to change. We are normalizing not just hate, but we are normalizing these signals to persons who may not be as stable as I would like for them to be, who will then proceed to do something to harm someone. Yes, when you come to my office, the first thing you see is a person with a gun. When I go out to events now, I have to have someone to escort me out to events. When I'm in the airport, we have to be escorted through the airports. Do you think this improves the situation? This does not. This only exacerbates a situation that we already are having to deal with. We've had to allocate more funds so that members can have armed protection. For me, it's armed. Maybe for some others, it's not, but protection. This is not normal. And if we just allow it to continue, we may find ourselves at a point where we can't stand here in the well and say what I'm saying. We may find ourselves at a point in our history of the United States of America, a functioning democracy, when the president took office for this term, a functioning democracy, we may find ourselves with an inability to exercise the constitutional right of free speech. You have to see what's coming. You've seen what he has done, calling all of the generals in, all of these high-ranking officers. And in a sense, they spoke down to them, changed the name of the Defense Department into the Department of War. He has become a might makes right president. Might makes right. In a might makes right world, the weak are wrong. If you don't have the might to match what the president is doing, then you're weak. This is a president. I'm coming back to this, but I have to step aside for a second and say this to you. This is a president who has decided that he will use the awesome power of the Justice Department to punish people that are perceived to be, in his mind, persons who have harmed him in some way by simply prosecuting him. Now look, if we can all decide that we're going to indict the prosecutors in our cases, then we're not going to have a rule of law in this country. What happens to the rule of law if everyday people like you and me, I can't force the Justice Department to do anything, but he knows this. He knows that he and the Justice Department have unlimited time, a coffer in the millions, if not billions, and that you may beat the rap, but you won't beat the ride, you won't beat the indictment, you'll have to pay. This is all so obvious.
You all hit the like, share, subscribe button. We have this content every day. We bring you stuff from the Congress, from the Senate, every day. Like, share, and subscribe button. All right, hold on. We hit, who was talking to me? Okay, yeah. Like, share, subscribe button, please and thank you. Here we are, showing the polls for the week.
Affordability, repeating his line that it's a, as he puts it, a con job by the Democrats. But a growing number of Trump allies are now urging the Republican Party to sharpen its message on the cost of living heading into the midterm. CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton joining me now. Look, ultimately, it's the American public who is going to decide if this is a major issue. What are you learning from some of the numbers you've been looking at as to how people really feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can bloviate as much as you want in Washington, D.C., but at the end of the day, it's the American people who make the ultimate decision at the ballot box like they did last month in Virginia, in New Jersey. And this is what it's all about, baby. Google searches for affordability up 110% versus a year ago. More folks search for affordability in the last month than at any point since the Great Recession, all the way back in 2009. This is no con job. This is the American people going online, searching for affordability. It's the American people going to the ballot box, voting on affordability. They think it is an important issue to touch on. Donald Trump might want to make the argument it's a con job, but the American people don't think so.
When it comes to things like high prices, I mean, what is the top issue that Americans say they are facing, bar none?
Yeah, you named it. You named it. I mean, ta-da! It's the cost of living, most important to you right now, 36%. What's right behind it? The economy, 20%. And then I combined here healthcare or Medicare and Social Security right down there. Number 3, 17%. What do these all have in common? It's do, re, mi. It's all about the economy, spending, cost of living, entitlement, all about being able to afford things. That's what we're talking about, Sarah Sidner. This is the name of the game. It was the name of the game last month, and it is very likely to be the name of the game come 11 months from now in the election. And it's not the Democrats making up, it's the American people that the Democrats are following. And if Donald Trump and the Republicans don't start following the American people, well, you get results like you did last month in Virginia and New Jersey, and that is Republicans losing by double digits in races that they thought would be considerably closer, especially in New Jersey.
Look,
Well, I mean, they seem to think that nobody is waking up. Plenty of people are waking up. Plenty of people are waking up, and if enough people wake up, Donald Trump may be impeached. He may be impeached yet again. He's on the road. He's on the road to being impeached again because he's done so much wrong. So many things wrong. I need to reiterate. Somebody please put in the chat. What did the big beautiful bill do for you? What did the big beautiful bill do for you? Between the salaries of $30,000 and $150,000. Somebody put in the chat what the big beautiful bill did for you. Because I want to know. I haven't heard anything yet. What did the big beautiful bill do for you?
Was the name of the game in the presidential election.
Yeah,
right?
Sarah.
I mean, I had to bring that up.
Beautiful.
That is part of this. So when you look at this, what is sort of, there are lots of things. People back then, it was eggs, it was groceries, and people were really frustrated. But there is so much more to what the cost of living is and how it affects us.
That's exactly right. You know, we think of cost of living, we think of groceries, but it's
Don't double down. Only a retard double downs on stuff and they don't know what they're talking about. Only you tards double down on stuff that you have no idea about. Okay? We said tangible things that not just you, goofy, but a whole swath of people. What did the big beautiful bill do for you? A whole slew of y'all. Because y'all poor. Most people are poor. So most people wasn't in that bill. Wasn't in that big beautiful bill. Nothing in that bill was for you. If you don't work for tips or anything else, that means jack shit. If you're talking about overtime on no overtime on tip, on no overtime, no taxes on overtime, you have to itemize the duck in order to get that. Otherwise, it doesn't account. And most people don't do itemize the duck. Most people do the standard deduction on their taxes. So, seeing as how most of y'all make between $30,000 and $150,000, we need to know what the big beautiful bill did for you. Because I haven't found it yet. Nobody has made any kind of compelling evidence as to what the big beautiful bill does for you.
also about housing, affordable housing. We saw that last month in the New York City mayoral election, and it was something that we saw in the 2024 presidential election as well. Good affordable housing, satisfied with access to it. You know, you look back a decade ago, it was 69%. 59%. We're going down the slide here in 2019. Look at where we were last year when Donald Trump won another term, all the way down to 36%. That's a 33-point drop in just a decade of time. Affordable housing is such a key component to this. It is such a key component. And Donald Trump won on affordability, even if he didn't use that word. He won on affordability. He won on the cost of living in 2024. And he has completely lost the plot. And it's not just about groceries. It is also about.
Absolutely. Nobody's seen what the 2025 tax forms look like. That's why he didn't do anything for you, goofy, Tony Tigers. That's why he didn't do anything for you, Tony Tigers, goofy. My point exactly, goofy.
People putting a roof over their heads. And that is going to be a big issue in my mind going in to 2026, because it was a big issue in Tennessee 7 as well. It's going to be a very big issue. When all of a sudden you see falls like this from 69 to 36, that is a siren. That is a flashing red siren. The politicians don't.
Of course, it's a flashing red siren. It's a flashing red siren that this president and these Republicans are in trouble. And they're on the road to Impeachment. Yet again, you're going to see those articles put up front and center. Yet again. This president can't help himself. He cannot help himself. And you know what's going to solidify his impeachment? This right here.
Millions of people, millions of Republicans are on Obamacare. They get their insurance through the marketplace. And I don't know what kind of poll they did. CNN just released a press release today that millions of Republicans on Obamacare want the subsidies extended. These are the same Republicans who have bashed Obamacare since day one, ever since falling for Donald Trump's lie that Obama wasn't born in the United States.
Of course. Of course. All of these people have ACA. All of these damn maggots have ACA. That's wild. And yet they're waiting for it to fall. Waiting for it not to work. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yet that saved up. That's crazy.
It's like if it's anything that's created by somebody with the D next to their name, they just shit on it and shit on it. And now,
and that's the derangement syndrome right there. That's the derangement syndrome that the Republicans have right there. Obamacare is a scam. Amazing.
they got their wish. Donald
Yet they're the most that are on it. They're the most that are on it. That's wild. You Republicans are the most people on Obamacare, and you're shitting on Obamacare. That's wild. Do you see the stupidity of it all? That's wild. But yet and still, something that would get even more of a person should get a person even more fired. Okay? Even more fired is this right here. Anybody deserves to lose their job. We're going to listen to this one last thing because y'all need to know. Y'all need to know y'all need to know the shittiness of it all, right? Because I don't understand why they're not getting it. I don't understand why we got to keep going over it. I don't understand why nobody understands the trends of where we're going. But let David.
News is not so good. And the administration.
Hold on. Let's repeat it. Repeat it again, David.
The economic news is not so good. And the administration is kind of panicking to figure out how to hide this. So as many of you know, we are not getting official jobs reports right now. Trump didn't like them. So he fired the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and we have no more official jobs reports. But there are
no more official job reports because the president knows his record is so shitty. His record is so shitty that he is hiding the jobs reports. Hiding the jobs reports. Wow.
Other jobs and payroll data tracking companies like ADP, which give us information. And generally speaking, the ADP numbers tracked the BLS numbers, so they at least give us an idea. Well, the ADP numbers now say that private companies have been losing 13,500 jobs every week for the last month. There's multiple elements of significance to this. Number one, this is a jump in job losses from where we were just recently. Number two, one of the arguments from this administration has been, listen, the overall jobs numbers don't really paint an accurate picture because yes, we are losing some government jobs, but that's by design. Doge came in and they found fraud, waste, and abuse, and they are getting rid of jobs that we don't really need. So what really matters is the private employers. However, the ADP data focuses specifically on private employers, and that data is getting worse. Like I said, 13,500 jobs a week now being lost by private employers. The only reason we even know this is because of ADP, because Trump killed the actual jobs report. He fired the BLS commissioner, canceled the October jobs report, canceled the inflation report. Third quarter GDP report is either delayed or scrapped, who knows? So we are now relying on an ADP spreadsheet because the president was so terrified of the official numbers that he said no more. Now, this shouldn't surprise anybody. This is the guy who said, I don't like how many COVID cases we have. Stop testing for COVID. And as we all know, if you don't want to be pregnant, just don't take a pregnancy test. And then voila, you aren't pregnant. He admitted to cooking the numbers on COVID cases. He has found a way to try to cook the numbers on employment, but it's not working. He's doing the same thing. He always does the same thing. Not only is it COVID cases and job losses, but it's inflation data. It's the same playbook every single time. Now, meanwhile, there's an increasingly wobbly economy. You look at all aspects of what Trump is doing. The tariff regime, obviously terrible for the economy. We know that. But the mass deportation plan often is talked.
Let's do this. Why don't some of you people on the right figure out how to counteract some of these? Seeing as how the left is so dumb, the left is so stupid, the left never has any of the correct facts. Why is it that you Republicans only come in the door and say, you're so dumb, Democrats, you're a lying Democrat? Why don't you present facts? Why don't you present facts? If I have all the facts wrong, why not present the true facts? Because you guys can't produce the true facts. You can't produce the true facts. All you can do is come in the chat and say Democrats are lying. Democrats are demons. Democrats are demonic. But you never present any facts. Donald Trump killed the people who gave you the real facts. He killed the person who gave you the job market facts. We have been losing jobs ever since September. You all remember when the jobs guy, the BLU guy, came out and said we lost 30,000 jobs, 33,000 jobs in 1 month? Y'all remember that? Donald Trump fired that person, and nobody has been giving us the monthly reports like we normally do for the past 84 years. He fired that person because he knows that we're going to be losing jobs from here on out because of what he did, the tariffs that he put into place. But no, we got MAGAs in the chat. Don't know how to present facts. Don't know how to present facts. So let's call the Democrats stupid. We don't know how to present facts. So let's call them Democrats stupid. This is what we do. Don't call us dumb. Just present facts. Just present the facts. That's all. I don't want to hear about you calling nobody a leftard, libertard, retard, all those goofy things. I'm just saying present facts. If you don't know how to present facts, shut up about what you do know, because you don't know anything. Of course, we got Black Wolf here who knows absolutely nothing. That's all he knows is libertards are idiots. Present facts, Black Wolf. Present facts.
About appropriately in ethical and moral terms, which makes sense.
We love to, us Democrats love to present facts, but you never can dispute them because you live in an alternate world, because you all are zombies.
But it's also an economic issue. The mass deportation plan carried out to its full potential would knock about 7%.
Daniel Britton, we haven't seen a jobs report from Donald Trump. Jobs report presented themselves. People presented jobs reports for the past 84 years. Donald Trump fired the person that gave us those job reports. Why haven't we received any job reports since Donald Trump got that bad job report, that last job report? Somebody please put it in the chat why we haven't received any job reports, any full disclosure job reports since he fired that guy in September. Somebody please put that in the chat. What do you mean facts? Y'all wild. You can't present facts. So Democrats must be lying, but you never can present facts yourself. No. Don't try to attack David Pakman. I said present your fact. Where's the guy who comes out and presents the job numbers every month? Because Donald Trump fired him. Where are the jobs reports? Where are they at? Come on, Republicans. Tell us where the job reports is at. Because you can't. Because your president is hiding them.
The GDP. Q1 GDP growth was negative. Q2 bounced back to some degree. We've got accelerating layoffs. And now we are about 15 days from the Fed meeting to decide what are we going to do with interest rates. They'll have no official jobs data. They're going to have no consumer price.
We demand a jobs report. That's right, Famous. We want them jobs report back. Whether if the jobs were so amazing, if the jobs, they ain't online. Jobs report ain't online. If the jobs were so amazing, why is it that president don't come? See, this president is so shitty that he loves to blow his own horn. He loves to blow his own horn. So why ain't he out there saying, blowing his own horn, saying, we made 100,000 jobs. We made 30, 50, 60,000 jobs. Because he knows he hasn't made any jobs. He knows he's lost jobs. This president, the shitty human being that he is, would have been out here saying what kind of jobs he created if he did. But he hasn't created any jobs because he's lying. They're not online. ADP put them online. That's wild. Just live in an alternate universe.
Price index. They're going to have no GDP print. They're going to run a $27-30 trillion economy on guesswork because Trump has canceled the data. Now we are going to get a little bit later on in the show to Republicans now blowing the healthcare rollout. Now, as we've talked about before, healthcare is a moral issue. It is an ethical issue. It is a public health issue, but it's also an economic issue. If people don't have healthcare when they get sick, they can't go to work if they're unable to get appropriate treatment. So all of these stories, healthcare, deportation, all of it in some way links back to the state of the economy. None of this projects strength. None of this projects competence. And none of this projects confidence. It's all an administrative meltdown.
Y'all remember when the jobs report came out in September and the jobs report said 33,000 jobs lost. Donald Trump fired those people. We haven't seen a correct jobs report since then. We have been getting job reports for 84 years. Now, all of a sudden, because Trump doesn't like the numbers, we can't get the numbers. I don't understand.
Now, meanwhile, you still have MAGAs who say Trump's a businessman. He's running the country like a business. He's good with money. But of course, if you look at the multiple...
That don't mean this facts ain't true, Black Wolf. You haven't presented any facts.
Business bankruptcies. And you look at the fact that every...
Oh, no. Mark, I need to know the link. What link are you talking about? What's the link that shows us the job reports that Donald Trump got? You keep saying that Donald Trump has the jobs report online. Where's the link that says you got the jobs report? Because I haven't found it. Not once. You give me the link that says the job reports for the month of what is it? September, October, November, December, October, November, and December. Give us where the job report numbers are. I'd love to know.
Time this guy gets in, the deficit explodes.
Give us the link. So where's the link? You said they online. Give us the link. We want to go there and see. But I ain't seen no job report numbers since that man came out and said 33,000 jobs lost. And every person that we done heard said, no. Present the link that says exactly that. Y'all can't present jack shit because he ain't released none of those numbers because he done lost jobs every damn time. As a matter of fact, let's go to ADP. ADP is a private company that presents those facts. Let's see.
If you look at the fact that Democratic presidents on average are stewards of nearly 3 times the job creation as Republicans on average, you have to accept the record for what it is. Facts don't care about your feelings. They're not good with the economy. They're not good at creating jobs. And right now, the economy is ending each month with fewer jobs than it started.
We keep trying to tell these Republicans that the Republicans are not, or the MAGAs, the Republicans are not good with stewards of the country. Every time a Democrat gets into office, the economy turns around and goes good. Every time the Democrats get into office.
Now, when we eventually get real numbers, if they ever come out, we might learn that this is even worse than what the ADP and other data suggests. One final note on the Democratic-Republican thing. There are lots of ways in which presidents don't directly influence or control job creation. We have global business cycles. We have black swan type one-off events, natural disasters. There's a lot that goes into job creation. But there are some things presidents can do to influence job creation. They relate to government spending, they relate to tariff and tax policy, they relate to trade agreements, etc. If we go back to Truman onward, okay, net jobs added under Democratic presidents, 71 million. Under the Republican presidents, 29 million. Now you might say, well, we haven't had the same number of years of Democratic and Republican presidents. Correct.
Yeah, did you hear those numbers? Did y'all hear those numbers? What did he say? What did he say? What did he say about Democrat and Republican?
Democratic versus Republican presidents are doing that allows or encourages more job growth under Democrats. And that is absolutely the case. We've talked about what those things are, and the record is extraordinarily clear.
The record is extraordinarily clear. Extraordinarily clear.
Well, everything about jobs. But when you start looking at 100 years and you see this extraordinarily notable trend, you have to at least say to yourself, well, there must be something.
Wait a minute, hold on.
And Republican
Let me
president.
say it again.
Correct. You are now.
Let me say it
They
again.
relate to trade agreements, etc. If we go back to Truman onward, okay, net jobs added under Democratic presidents, 71 million.
71 million. 71 million jobs added by Democrats. 71 million jobs added by Democrats. 71 million.
Under the Republican presidents, 29 million.
Under Republicans, 29 million. 77 million to 29 million. 77 million jobs added by Democrats. 29 million added by Republicans. Every time a Democrat gets into power, into the presidency, we gain jobs. And the economy does better under a Democratic rule. Always. It's history. I don't need to repeat history. That's all you got to do is look it up. Mark still ain't gave us nothing because you can't fight facts.
Now you might say, well, we haven't had the same number of years of Democratic and Republican presidents. Correct. You are now thinking, if we do it on a per month basis, going all the way back to Truman, Democratic presidents on average add 164,000 jobs a month. Republican presidents on average add 61,000 jobs per month. Presidents don't control everything about jobs, but when you start looking at 100 years and you see this extraordinarily notable trend, you have to at least say to yourself, well, there must be something that Democratic versus Republican presidents are doing that allows or encourages more job growth under Democrats. And that is absolutely the case. We've talked about what those things are. and the record is extraordinarily clear. Thanks for watching. Check out this other video, and if you like our content, make
On a final note, okay? There is no official Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers for the total jobs gained or lost in October. And there never will be retroactive data for that month. Why? Because Donald Trump canceled those. Because of the BLS cancellation, market analysts and private data firms have offered varying, sometimes conflicting estimates. Some of them have cited 35,000 jobs, 42,000 jobs, because we don't have an official record, because Donald Trump is scared of what those numbers will be. 29 million jobs made by Republicans, 77 million by Democrats. By all measures, whenever a Democrat gets into power, our economy runs better. And these are facts that we can't dispute. It is what it is. I remember Bill Clinton saying, we created all these jobs more than the Republicans. Apparently he wasn't lying. So, yet and still, we got people who pick Republican not making any jobs or doing anything beyond anything every day. That's wild. That's wild. Anyway, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. We have content like this every day. We might be back later on. If there's some news, if somebody get impeached, if there are any kind of goofy things going on, we will be back to address that content. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. Like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. We will be back. If there's any goofiness that is going on in the world, we definitely will be back. The president canceled the BLS, the jobs report that we have been collecting for 84 years. We get the numbers every month for the past 84 years, and the president canceled that report because he knows that he's losing jobs every month instead of making jobs. And jobs are won, and every time a Republican gets into power, they make 29, or in the history, they've made 29 million jobs. Democrats have made 77. Question is, who should be the steward of the economy? If we make more jobs and the economy is better, why wouldn't we be the steward of the economy? Because people are slow. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. We might be back depending on what's happening in the news. I love you, and I'll see you later.